Hi everyone, it's Jasmine, and in today's video we are going to be discussing Braille literacy and learning lots about Braille together. So I hope you learned something today, and let's get started. Now, what is Braille? Braille is a tactile reading and writing system that uses raised dots that are arranged in 6-dot cells. Different dot patterns represent letters, numbers, punctuation, and symbols. Individuals read by moving their fingertips across the dots, and Braille allows for independent access to written language for these individuals. Now, who uses Braille? Those who are blind, deafblind, or have low vision will use Braille, including individuals with conditions that limit print reading, both children and adults, and many users combine Braille with screen readers, magnification, and audio tools for that extra support as well. Braille literacy is important as it builds skills such as spelling, grammar, sentence structure, and comprehension. In doing so, it supports learning and not just listening and memorizing. It enables these individuals privacy and accuracy when they're reading sensitive or detailed information, and it allows them to read and review information, label their belongings, medications, for example, navigate environments safely as well. And Braille literacy is strongly linked to higher education achievement, employment opportunities, and long-term independence. Now, you might be wondering, how is Braille used in everyday life? So the same as other signage, Braille is used in public navigation, so for individuals to navigate elevators, read signs in general, use transit. It's used for safety and accuracy, so again, reading medication labels, emergency signage to exit a building if an emergency arises, etc. It's used for personal independence, so again, labeling items, taking personal notes, organizing forms and files. Learning and work uses Braille, so school materials, workplace documents, etc., to make them accessible to everybody. And then physical and digital access to Braille does exist, and there are printed Braille forms and documents and refreshable displays as well. Now, if you do have the ability to see this slide here, we are going to do a little exercise together. And on this slide, we have the Braille alphabet. The slide shows each letter and the dots that correspond with each letter. Now, these dots are arranged in a total of 6 cells, and each letter is represented by different configurations of dots within these cells. Now, if we take the example of learning how to read signage, a common sign that we see in our day-to-day lives is an exit sign if we're ever in a building. So if we want to learn how exit is written in Braille, we would look at the letter E, the letter X, the letter I, and the letter T. Now, the letter E has 2 dots arranged in the first cell, being the top left, and the 5th cell, being the middle right. X has 4 dots, one being in cell 1, the second being in cell 3, the third being in cell 4, and the fourth being in cell 6. I has 2 dots, one being in cell 2, and the second being in cell 4. And then T has 4 dots, so one being in cell 2, 2 being in cell 3, the third being in cell 4, and the fourth being in cell 5. Now, technology exists to include Braille literacy. So these different technologies can include Braille displays, They can include technologies that connect to phones, tablets, and computers, and they can convert digital text into tactile Braille. These tools and technologies that I'm talking about often include Braille note takers. So what these are keyboards that can be purchased, and the keyboard is made of Braille letters. And essentially what it is if you're taking notes, you can type them up in a way that you are able to distinguish tactilely which letter is which, and then you can connect it to a Braille embosser, which is also considered a printer. So if it's connected to the printer, it will print basically 3D onto paper, so the individual can then tactily feel the bumps of the dots for their corresponding letters on the piece of paper. Both of these technologies are very useful to these individuals, especially in this day and age when a lot of what we do is in the digital world. Now, there are barriers to Braille literacy, and a few of these include limited access to instruction. So there aren't too many people that actually teach Braille. It's also a high cost of equipment, so the keyboards and the printers that I was just talking about can come at a pretty great expense. A lack of Braille materials, so reading materials for individuals that need Braille to understand written sentences, don't really exist. And there's inconsistent Braille in public spaces, so they may be using a different Braille system, or some errors may be occurring that can cause confusion for the individual and actually limits the accessibility. With that said, it's important that we can understand how organizations can support Braille access. So, of course, to do so, they could provide Braille signage and labeling. They can offer documents in accessible formats. They can train staff on accessibility awareness. They can also consult people who use Braille to implement these tactics. And they build accessibility into planning. Now, if you do have any questions about how you can build accessibility into planning, that's something that we at Breaking Down Barriers actually focus a lot on and would be happy to answer further, whether that be in an email, in the comments, etc. Some communication tips for individuals with visual disabilities. Again, even when we're speaking to these individuals, we need to make sure we're speaking directly to them. We can ask them directly what format they prefer to communicate in. We can give clear verbal directions, especially if we are, say, guiding them to a specific location. We have to make sure we're always avoiding assumptions about the individual's ability. We're allowing the individual extra time if they do need it. And we're offering help, but we're at the same time respecting their independence. Now, I hope you've learned something today about Braille literacy, and if you have any questions about how we can support those who use Braille to understand written and spoken language, please comment below. Thanks for watching.